Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Ivan, founder of ProHost, and I help real estate investors maximize their cash flow using Airbnb or short-term rentals as a platform. In this video, I'm going to uncover the top 10 most common mistakes that I see rookie hosts make. I'm going to give you the tools necessary to overcome these and not make the same mistakes. So whether you're just starting out as an Airbnb host or you're a seasoned host, I guarantee you there's something new that you can learn to implement in your business and be able to cash flow even more. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to go through them. Now, in full transparency, some of these mistakes I did not make, but I do see that they're very common in the industry, so I'm obviously going to give you those as well. Mistake number one is not properly researching the local market and competition. And when I say competition, I mean both Airbnb hosts and hotels, which is, in my opinion, the number one competitor. Now, the main reason why we want to do the proper market research is twofold. Number one is to set the right pricing, and number two is to attract the right guests. So leaning on number one, which is probably the more important one of the two, because we're here to make money, you want to do market research on how much hosts and hotels are charging in comparison to the property that you have. So for example, if you have a one-bedroom and studio apartment, it's easy for you because all you have to do is look for one-bedroom and studio apartments on Airbnb and other platforms, and you can actually compare it also with hotels because that's usually what they offer. However, if you have a larger home, maybe a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom home, it gets a little bit more tricky, but still doable. All you would technically have to do is get the numbers from the smaller units or the biggest units that you can find that are more common out there. In this case, let's say it's a 1-bedroom. So for the most part, a 1-bedroom can technically comfortably sleep 2 people, basically in one bed. So if you have a 4 or 5-bedroom home, you technically can sleep 4 or 5 times the amount of people that 1-bedroom can sleep. So in order to get the fair market value of that home that you have that is larger, all you have to do is some quick math to multiply it to the amount of people that you can sleep in your property. Now, by default, you're obviously going to get a more inflated number, and with reason, because you have a bigger property. But then you have to take into consideration that not all guests in a bigger home are going to have their own kitchen or their own living room. And then you'll see that the numbers start to arrive at a more reasonable rate, even considering the fact that the home is larger. Hopefully that didn't confuse you, and I deep dive into this in my course, but if you have any comments or questions on that, leave them down below. Secondly, you obviously want to attract the right guests. Once you do the proper market research in the location that you're at, you'll be able to determine what kind of property you want, what kind of property is going to attract the guests that usually travel to that location. If you're in a remote location, maybe you could start doing a glamping, which is a fancy tent, or maybe a tiny home, or maybe one of those very nice bubble things that are clear that you can see everything around you. But if you're in the city, you obviously are going to cater more towards people who are working travelers, travel nurses, and they'll be just visiting for work, and they just want a comfortable place to lay their head and unwind after a long day of work. So all in all, mistake number one, make sure that you do the proper market research and that you understand who your competitors are. And that leads really nicely into mistake number two, which is not setting the correct pricing from the beginning. It is extremely important that you price your property accurately and that pricing encourages the guests that you want to host. So for example, we mainly lean towards midterm rentals, MTRs, which basically means that we like to host people who are staying 30 days plus. The way we achieve that and give them priority is by having larger discounts set at 30 days plus, so that if anybody decides to book one of our properties for less than that amount, the shorter amount of stay that they get, the more per night that they will actually pay. And that allows for two things. Number one, it allows for us making more money for the shorter stays. But number two, it allows us to have an open calendar for our ideal guest, which is again, people who are staying 30 days plus. Now, this video is not about price strategy, which is probably my favorite topic. And of course, I deep dive into this in my course. Mistake number three is not adequately preparing the property. Your property needs to be clean, well maintained, and well equipped with amenities that your guest will need when arriving. My rule of thumb is that I at least want all of my guests to have enough accommodation, toiletries, and such for at least 1 week of their arrival. The last thing that you want is for a guest to arrive and see that they need to run to the store because you forgot or didn't include something that they would need. Now, obviously, I'm not telling you to feed them for a week, but make sure that they have enough toilet paper, that they have enough napkins, that there's enough coffee, etc. Obviously, make sure that the property is extremely clean with no hairs. People freak out over hairs. Even if they find just one hair, they're going to deem the whole property not to be clean. So make sure that you instruct your cleaners that is super important. Also, you also want to prepare the property when it comes to the check-ins. Make sure that they have a seamless check-in process. And Airbnb in particular does a very good job in giving you the tools necessary to do that through their check-in guide, which basically allows you to create a slideshow for them with captions that guides them every step of the way until they enter the property. Mistake number four is not providing excellent customer service. Now, that goes without saying. You're in the hospitality business when you're doing Airbnb or short-term rentals or midterm rentals, but it is something that's very easily overlooked. Having great customer service doesn't necessarily mean that you're checking up on them every step of the way. It could very well mean that you have the right automations or scheduled messages that checks up on the guest automatically. So for example, we have messages that are automatically sent to our guests after their check-in, checking up on them and making sure that they have everything that they need, and if they don't, that they are free to contact us and let us know. And our scheduled messages are so on point that many of them go without us actually having to speak with them, because we're answering their questions before they ask them, like where's the Wi-Fi, and we're checking up on them throughout their stay and giving them information before checkout so that they have a seamless checkout as well. All of that, even though it's not us personally sending those messages, count towards excellent customer service. And that is what's going to lead them to leaving us a positive review. And take it from me as a host that has over 1,300 reviews, all of that goes a very long way. Mistake number 5 is not complying or ignoring local laws and regulations. Whether it be related to taxes, zoning, or safety, make sure that you're checking up on your local laws so it doesn't bite you in the butt later on. If you need to have some sort of permit where you are, make sure that you have that on point. I've never been a fan of taking risks or unnecessary risks when it comes to these type of things. And it could literally be as simple as doing a quick Google search to find out if you have all of your ducks in a row before starting your business. Mistake number 6 is not properly managing your reservations. In order to have a successful short-term rental business or Airbnb business, you need to have a systematized workflow that works for you and not against you. Even in my business, when we have people checking out one day and that very same day they're checking in, or a new guest is checking in, we have it streamlined to where there are no issues. So make sure that you communicate effectively with your cleaners, that they have the right expectations, that you have the right expectations of them, so that the unit is ready to go for the next guest that comes in. Follow a process that ensures that your current guest checks out in time to give the cleaners enough time to clean the property so that the next guest can check in a few hours. Now, a lot of people are intimidated by that process because I see a lot of them just block out that day that someone checks out, and that's just money left on the table. But if done correctly, you can maximize your occupancy and not have to block out any nights, and your guests can still have a seamless check-in and check-out experience. Mistake number 7 is not having a clear cancellation policy. See, for our business, we use a strict cancellation policy. Since we do it through Airbnb, Airbnb offers different cancellation policies that are adequate to your type or style of business. Some are flexible, some are strict, and then they often refresh those with other options, but we have it as strict. We want to have a clear indicator of how much we can expect to make, and we don't want to take any risk with any guests backing out of a reservation and then we have the nights that go unbooked. So to all of my students and you that are watching, I encourage you to always set it on strict. And that's even considering the fact that Airbnb might ding you just a bit on their SEO for doing so, but you can make it up in so many other ways. It's simply not worth the hassle to have it any other way than strict. Mistake number 8 is not properly promoting your listing. Now, Airbnb does a lot of the marketing or all of the marketing that you need, but by that I mean not doing the certain things that you need to do within the Airbnb platform that'll rank you up higher in the SEO. Or maybe in down seasons when you're not getting bookings directly from Airbnb, how do you promote the listing in order to get more bookings? Whether that be messaging in Facebook groups or reaching out to prior guests and offering them a discount. And I touched on this a little bit on my previous video, so make sure you check that out after this one. Mistake number 9 is not providing a good enough value for the price that you're charging. I've seen it time and time again when people are charging based on location only. So they skimp out on making sure that they have a good experience in the home. So if you're in the middle of downtown where it's very lively, a very luxurious location, make sure that you match that with the interior of the property where the guest is actually going to stay. So don't skimp out just using IKEA furniture and cheap furniture and skimp out on a bad mattress, because the guests that will book with you in those types of locations have a standard and are going to expect a certain quality of furniture and mattress and all of the amenities that they will receive. So don't set yourself up for failure and a bad review, and provide good value for the price that you're charging. Now, needless to say, if you are in an economy market and you're not in a luxurious place, then make sure that it matches at that level. I'm not against IKEA furniture. We use it a lot in our properties, but you just want to be right there with the market. And lastly, mistake number 10 is not regularly reviewing your listing and updating it. I've seen a lot of hosts that they'll list their property up on Airbnb and even other platforms, and they won't touch it ever again. They won't ever refresh the photos, the description. They'll change things up to where now the photos don't even match the actual property anymore because the picture frame that was there once got broken. So you have to replace it with another one that doesn't look like it. And believe you me, this is something that a guest will nitpick and give you a bad review for. So just make sure that your pictures are up to date, your description is up to date, and I actually mentioned a little bit more about this in the previous video as well. So make sure you check that out. So whether these are mistakes that you've made yourself or you have not made them, hopefully there will be mistakes that you never make ever again. And if you're currently in the process of making these mistakes, make sure that you rectify them as soon as possible, because I guarantee you it will show up on your bottom line and you will become more profitable and you will get more reviews, more positive reviews, and overall make a lot more money. If you enjoyed this video and you want to stay up to date with all of the content that we post on a weekly basis, make sure to subscribe subscribe if you haven't already. If you like this video, I ask you to like it. And if you're anything like me and you forget about everything, I encourage you to click that notification bell so you get notified every week when I upload one of these videos, which, by the way, I post them every single Thursday. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you at the top. Let's go.